Alright guys, welcome back. So let's have a look at AMD. So AMD $88 levels. Essentially last time I talked about this one. I talked about this one many times actually. So we have been talking down this stock essentially. First back in 2022, 2023, I was talking about when it was hitting $20 all the way to $200 target, and then essentially after hitting $200 level and pretty much doing nothing right around here, I was talking down this stock, essentially saying that, this is gonna go a lot lower, potentially $100, 120, 160, $80, and along the way, of course, there are a lot of haters that, again, when trend is trending, I mean, the chart of the stock, it doesn't matter like what you think about the fundamentals of the stock. If people are losing money and stock keeps coming down, I mean, it's all about psychology of the people, right? So it doesn't matter what fundamentals are screaming to you or what other people are interpretation of their fundamental of the particular stock. When people are losing money, they don't give a crap. They will sell the stock, okay? And that's the case for me. That's the case for many people and even investors. If it's hitting the portfolio, I mean, they will kick out that stock. Doesn't matter what kind of stock it is, okay? So if it just keeps coming down and if it's in a downtrend, just like it were AMD has been the case, where I have been pretty much pointing out, like, look at the green candles and look at the red candles. Every time it tries to go higher, the body of the green candles are very small, and then look at the red candles. I mean, selling pressure was significantly higher. Same thing, you can take a look at the volume as well. Every time it was pretty much hitting higher, trying to go higher on a lower volume, higher volume comes in and dumps the stock. And that was the case. But right here, right now, we are in this confluence. Like, we're essentially, again, this $80 is not like a crazy significant support, but it is a decent support. Like this $75, $72 levels, basically from 2023, 2022, 2021. This was the area where this stock basically acted as a support for quite a bit, and this is where it bounced. So this area of 73, 74, I will show you on an hourly chart. We didn't quite get there, but we hit, I think, 70, 75 looks like, and then from here we bounced pretty big yesterday. So now, well, sure, we might have a local area to keep an eye on, but it doesn't mean that is it a bottom? Does it mean that we are gonna go rally from here? Well, in AMD's case, I don't think so until I see the stock trade above its 50-day moving average, which is at the moment somewhere around 107, 108. And again, I have talked about this one many times. It doesn't matter how high the stock goes, as long as it forms some sort of a uptrend, then I would be joining. Just like back in the day when it bottomed out in 2022, I was pointing out this sort of uptrend and saying that if stock keeps going higher, I mean, you're not going to miss it. It will give you opportunities. If it goes up, it will come test that level, goes up, tests that level. And that would be something like this would be a perfect area for me to basically go long any stock, not only AMD. So this is something I'm looking for. I'm not in a panic mode thinking that, oh, I missed the bottom. No, I'm not in that business, and I think many people should not be in that business. But can it go also lower? Well, they have earnings coming up, and I shared SMH as a basically semiconductors as a whole. Let's take a look at this ETF. If you're new, I think I was sharing and comparing this to the cycle of the market. I showed, I think, this chart where essentially SMH, semiconductors as a whole, were in a complacency area for about like 6, 7, 8 months. You can see after hitting highs, SMH, semiconductor ETF in July, August of last year, it hasn't tested that high. and it was pretty much in a consolidation distribution channel until it broke down that level. And from its highs, we are essentially pulled back, like 30-40%. At the moment we're sitting at 30, but we pulled back 40%. So in 2022 bear market, we pulled back somewhere like 47%. And I was comparing with, and many people I think also looking at that sector and saying that it can look like a ARK Invest, where this is an ARK Invest chart on a weekly. In 2020, 2021, you can see how high it goes after bear market of little flush down of pandemic. And you can see distribution for about same amount of time, around like 6 to 9 months. And then once it cracked, it is essentially went back to the lows where it came from and spent, and it has been spending for about like 2 years in a consolidation area, just like this cycle. So we could be in a tech as a whole, AI, most of them, in an anxiety stage of this market, where we will have at some moment denial and then panic. But again, I could be completely wrong, but if that's the case, SMH has, in my opinion, another 30, 40, 50% to go lower, test essentially 2022's lows where we hovered around before going into this bull market, AI bull market. So this is something I'm watching, but of course I'm not saying this has to happen overnight. But if that's the case, where can AMD go? So AMD at the moment, yes, okay, so I'm going to be watching 73 as my support area, and then below that I have a support somewhere around 55. That's the bear market low of 2022. So is that possible for AMD to go that low? Absolutely. It can happen very fast too, but it can happen very slow too. At the same time, we can also see pretty epic rally, and AMD can essentially go back to these test its 200-day moving average. Maybe I was giving an example last time that in bear market, these sorts of rallies that can go even very close to, after dropping like significantly 20-30% plus, it can definitely go almost test its highs where it dropped from. In AMD's case, maybe I was thinking that maybe 200-day moving average, which is 125, maybe even 130. It's possible, but again, there's a lot of sellers. There's a lot of pressure. So far, my resistance for AMD would be this 50-day moving average, 104, which is 50-day SMA. If it gets back above, sure, I will be watching first 115 and then 130. Depends what's going to happen macro. Are we going to cut rates? What's going to happen? But we know people are in a pretty much uncertain mode right now regarding everything, essentially. And these rallies, I mean, can last. They can last for weeks, months before they roll over. But for me, up until earnings, which is coming up, AMD can stay in this range for sure. It doesn't have to break down. But so far, the support area, these lows that we had seen, 78, 77, give or take, this is what I will be watching. But to the upside, again, I'm not chasing it. I don't think that I don't think that I have to be looking for a bottom or calling out the bottom and pretty much getting in at the bottom. No, I don't have to do that. Again, for me, the perfect confirmation would be where volatility chills and stocks try to do this, sort of try to form an uptrend, and it takes months. Again, last time it had bear market, you can see the rallies it had. It had pretty epic rallies that lasted like 30-40% rallies along the way. So every time we were coming down, making a new low, you can see how it was rallying. So this rally was right here, like 25%. This is 30% rally, but then it came broke down below those levels, made a new low, and then when it started making new highs, this was the pretty good time to anticipate that uptrend. And if you go as far as on my videos, I was talking about this one way down there in 2022 April. I was talking about that one where, okay, is it going to reverse? Can we go higher? $100 target, $200 target. So, but that's essentially what I'm watching. I don't want to overcomplicate this, but one thing I also keep an eye on large orders. Are people accumulating? Probably a lot of people could have bought local bottom at these areas where we had pretty big bounce yesterday. But at the same time, those people, for the most part, are the people who are getting short squeezed, meaning those people didn't have an intention of owning this stock, but they were just forced to own the stock. I mean, forced to buy it back and pretty much put a buying pressure. And those kind of rallies do not last usually. So far, I will be keeping an eye on this tool. If I see like large, unusual, like billions of dollars accumulation happening, this is volume leaders, then sure, I would be watching AMD for some sort of a bounce. But so far, I'm only seeing not much of a, well, it looks like April 10th. Today, there was an order, a cluster of orders, 574 million. I'm not sure if these people were buying, but right here, I'm pretty sure that was the seller somewhere around here yesterday after the rally. Somebody could have sold almost $1 billion worth of AMD. And then today we had a pretty big retracement in overall market, around like 4 or 5%. At some point it was exceeding 7%. But I'll keep an eye on flows, and if I see some large flows that just keep committing to the stock, and at the same time, again, I'll be keeping an eye on the chart. And at the same time, they have earnings, and I want their earnings to confirm with their guidance that they're doing very well. But again, there's a lot of risk out there. There's Taiwan risk that nobody's talking about, let alone this whole tariff risk that we have going on at the moment. But again, I'm not telling you to buy or sell. If you are an options trader, you can easily navigate through anything in this market. If you have a portfolio, you can even grow your portfolio in such environments. If you're a good trader, I mean, you don't have to sell your position. Again, in my case, I'm talking from my perspective. The premiums are crazy, covered calls, like the selling puts and all that stuff. There's a lot of ways you can express yourself in such market. So there's plenty of opportunity. There's plenty of time as well to protect or to basically make money. And if you're not in that business, if you just think that you want to keep buying it, I mean, you can keep nibbling. But again, I wouldn't commit like 100% capital thinking that this is a bottom and it's going to fly away without me. No, I don't think so. But again, this is just my opinion. This is an update for AMD. This is not a buy or sell recommendation. These are purely for entertainment purposes only. Thanks for watching. I'll probably see you guys with this update maybe somewhere after they report earnings in around May for AMD. Thanks for watching. Take care. Peace.